part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome to another edition of the Red Guy and Rhoda podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network. We are powered by Northfieldpark, your home for live and simulcast racing. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfieldpark. And Michael Red Guy, our producer extraordinaire, Dave Emmert, is making sure we reach the podcatosphere once again for all who want to hear us analyze, break down, provide the final analysis of the Browns' thrilling 13-10 win over the Detroit Lions today, and you were lucky enough with SunCal to take that one in person. How was the experience today, Michael?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what, Kenny. 60 minutes of drizzle and rain falling at wonderful First Energy Stadium, and unfortunately, offensively, the Browns were in a rain cloud themselves and a much heavier drizzle all day long. Kenny, any other team in the National Football League with the Detroit Lions, I don't think the Browns win today. I mean, the thing about the Lions, they don't have a very good roster. They don't have enough quality NFL talent, but they do play hard. Now, Pittsburgh, we saw last week, it took to overtime, wound up with that tie, and the Browns, Kenny, something's got to happen with this Browns offense, and it's got to happen immediately because these last 6 football games, Kenny, aren't going to be anywhere near adequate enough to get this team in the playoffs unless they make some major improvement offensively.
Michael Rega, you and I talked about it in the midweek podcast that we do here on the Press Play Podcast Network, and that was grow a pair, Kevin Stefanski, and sit Baker Mayfield down for this game. Play your backup quarterback who you're paying $6 million to in Case Keenum, and see if that helps Baker a week off like it helped C.J. Stroud with the Buckeyes when they sat him against Akron. They sat Baker earlier this year in the Denver game. It seemed to help a little bit, right?
Yeah.
He had more injuries. As I was watching the telecast today, Michael, they were highlighting his body parts in red that were banged up, bruised, battered, disconnected, whatever you want to say. And Baker today was awful, okay? 176 was the total passing yards today, 15 of 29, barely 50% throwing the football, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. 1 was a tip ball, but the first interception was one of the most atrocious and horrific throws I've ever seen. Michael, I think I termed it on Twitter, horrible and atrocious, so therefore it was ferocious, okay?
Ferocious.
Yeah,
okay.
We're going to use that term for Baker because Jarvis Landry was open by about 10 yards, and Baker overthrew him by about 10 yards. That's how bad of a throw that was. Now, the defense bailed him out by getting a turnover themselves, an interception from Tommy, Todd, Tony Boyle, whatever the hell that guy's name was that played quarterback for the Detroit Lions today.
Not an NFL quality quarterback, by the way.
No, not at all.
Not. Sorry, Mr. Boyle, but just not. How he's in the league, I have no idea.
Right. So they bailed him out by intercepting a pass from Mr. Boyle, and the defense actually came up with 2 turnovers to counter the 2 that Baker gave away today. And they were up 13-0, Michael, and held on for dear life down the stretch to win the game 13-10 over the Lions. And Kevin Stefanski should have sat Baker before the game. We both agreed on that. And then as that game was developing, Michael, how do you not make a quarterback change in that game if you're Kevin Stefanski?
Had to today. Had to. And this is no different than a starting pitcher, whether he's your ace or not, that, just as the game wears on, he's had enough. You could see it. The tank's empty, right? Yeah. Hey, get my bullpen up and, hey, let's go. And it doesn't mean that you're going to make a move permanently that Mayfield's no longer the starting quarterback, but that cried today, Kenny, just absolutely yelled and screamed to the high heavens for Kevin Stefanski to go to Case Keenum in the second half. And I'm beginning to wonder if, and again, we'll say it, the much heralded Mr. Stefanski, Kenny, I'm starting to see some things with this Browns head coach that are starting to really make me wonder if he is adaptable enough.
Okay.
If he is willing to again do things that completely, absolutely necessary during the course of a game. And boy, I didn't see it today, Kenny. I'll tell you what, Browns fans down there today, we're not happy. This was a group that, boy, it's fortunate that they won this football game, Kenny, because if Detroit had come back to beat them in the second half, wow. I don't know if this thing would be able to withstand that, meaning the Browns in totality. So they got the win, and a lot of people say a win is a win is a win in the NFL.
Right.
Yeah, I sort of subscribe to that, Kenny, but how can you feel like after witnessing that today, that this football team next week is going to go to Baltimore? You play that way against the Ravens next week? I mean, come on now. We know that you're not going to win that football game. I just don't understand why Stefanski is so indifferent on making the necessary changes when he has to. I mean, do you have any thoughts for it? Do you have any idea? Like I said, I'm starting to lose a little bit of confidence and faith in this man as a head football coach in the league.
All right, let me get my phone out, Michael Regai, because I made sure I made a note of this today at Jersey's Sports Bar and Grill in Canton with the Stark County Browns backers, because I wanted to bring it up. I knew we were going to be taping this tonight, and I wanted to bring it up during our podcast here. And let's see here. Oh, here's what it was late in the game. Browns are up 13-10 late in the game. Okay.
Yeah.
And Nick Chubb had run the ball, I think, 3 times in a row, maybe 4 times in a row.
I think it was 4 times in a row, if I'm with you on the particular sequence you're talking about.
Okay. Now, and I know he just got over COVID, so maybe, and I would have asked this question post-game had I been there, to find out if that's why they took him out. But, Michael, when you take him off the field, you're basically telling the opposition, I'm going to throw the football now, right? If you go empty, especially if you take him off the field and go empty. Yeah. Okay. Even if you didn't plan on running the ball with Nick Chubb, isn't he a great decoy to have in the backfield to play action off of? Because they ran 4 times in a row, got a first down after 3, picked up yardage on that 4th carry. It was second down and whatever.
Second and 6. He got 4 on that 4th carry.
Take them out of the game for second and third down. And if I'm Detroit,
went empty.
Yes.
And went empty.
If I'm Detroit, I go, thank you. Baker stinks today. He's your best player. You just took your best player off the field. I turned to a couple of people and I said, what the is Stefanski doing here? This is stupid. You're telegraphing what they can just totally not have to worry about the run now. The Chubb is out and you're going empty. And that's when I'm like, what's going on here? Now, the next time they got the ball back, luckily the defense held. They featured Chubb and D'Ernest Johnson, spelled him for a couple of carries and they ran out the clock. Okay. To me, that's what they should have been trying to do earlier instead of trying to throw it on a day where Baker Mayfield stunk today. And he stunk so bad, Michael. And I'm not sure again why, but he didn't talk to the media after the game. He left for the first time in his 4 years as a member of the Cleveland Browns and as a starter without speaking to the media after the game. Now, they might tell us, well, he's a little bit dinged up, so he had to go get looked at. Or I don't know. We'll see if they come up with an excuse for him in that. But I'm just wondering, was there a conversation after the game between Stefanski and Baker about next week already? Was Baker just embarrassed by his performance? What was said in the locker room? I don't know, because he had so many injuries. He was limping. He got examined in the 10 again, and they still put him back out there. And I don't know if that's Baker saying, hey, I started this game. I'm going to finish it. You can do with me whatever you want after the game, but let me finish. I don't know what's going on there, but Baker should not have finished that game today.
It was crying for Case Keenum to get in the football game. Yes. I started watching after the first possession of the second half, Son Cal and I, about, every time for Keenum to, take off his cape and maybe grab his helmet and start at least throwing the football and warming up while the Browns were on the field defensively. And it just never happened. It never happened. Finally, in the fourth quarter, after Baker rolled out and made a throw. And as you said, kind of started limping back to the huddle. Keenum finally got up, didn't throw, but ran a little bit.
Well, he tossed a few, Reg. They showed it on TV.
Was he tossing a few?
Just a couple. But Stefanski in his post game said, "Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, I didn't know that." Somebody asked him about it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he didn't know that Case got up and was loosening up or whatever. He said, "I didn't know that."
So in other words, I didn't tell him to anticipate going in.
Right.
Listen, again, this is a problem. This Browns offense is a problem. And Baker today was wild high. He was wild right, left. He bounced passes to receivers. Yep. Kenny, it was all over the charts, man. And again, hey, Baker, yeah, we know you're tough. We know that, you're a guy that you're the quarterback of this football team, and we all admire that. But you can't perform like that. I'm sorry. If you're going to go out there and perform like that, you should not be able to be the one who dictates whether or not you stay in the football game. And that's where I'm starting to, Kenny, for me, be like, if I'm Stefanski and Baker comes to me and said, Ace, I'm good. I don't want to come on. I'm fine. Yeah. I said, then start damn well playing like you're good because you're not playing well enough. For me, we need more offensively. And if you can't provide that today, then I got to go to Case. And I just don't see that Stefanski has, the big enough ones. It doesn't seem like it to want to do that. You can't fine. Baker says, I want to go. I'm the guy. Again, admirable. But you got to play like it, Kenny. You have to be able to play then within the structure of what you need to do offensively to win. They didn't do that today. Nick Chubb won that football game today.
Yes, he did. And he still didn't get enough carries. 22 carries. He should have had 30 carries in that game today. Donovan Peoples-Jones couldn't go because he pulled a groin, so he's out. Yeah. You had the rookie, Schwartz, out with a concussion.
He was out.
They called somebody up from the practice squad that had a decent, I think,
Jamarcus
preseason.
Bradley.
Yeah, for him or whatever. So he played and actually had a catch today, believe it or not. Landry at least scored a touchdown on that Wildcat run and everything. But Michael, I just looked at it. In 5 of the last 6 games, the Browns on offense have scored 14, 17, 10, 7, and 13. They had one breakout game when they put up 41 against the Bengals. Other than that, in 5 out of the last 6 games, 17 points is their high point total.
That's just unacceptable for a football team that, if you're trying to say has aspirations and should otherwise be good enough to be a playoff team. That's not going to get you anywhere. You're living on borrowed time if that's what you're going to do. So we're saying only once in that 41-point outburst against the Bengals in the last 6 games have they been over 17 points in a football game?
Yep.
Well, come on now. I think we all know there's 6 more games to go, right? 2 of them against the Ravens, right?
Yes, the next 2.
2 of them against the Ravens, the next 2 with the bye week in between. And you got Pittsburgh, right?
Right.
For another one.
The Raiders.
Cincinnati for another one. You got the Raiders.
And Raiders are falling apart, luckily, so that's good for them,
Well, Kenny, I think anybody, I don't care how ardent a Browns fan you are and how big you want, you got to know that offensively, this isn't going to cut it now. This ain't going to cut it. You keep playing offense like this, you might go zipping 6.
Yeah.
Because you're asking a hell of a lot of any defense. I don't care. And I could make a case that if it wasn't the Detroit Lions today with Tim Boyle, you wouldn't have won today.
I agree.
Are you going to tell me you're going to not put up over 17 points in a game and come on, defense, go win this one for us, baby? Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing,
happen
Michael.
Too much is what I'm trying to tell you.
Their wins this year, the Lions 13-10. The Broncos 17-14, the Vikings 14-7, the Bears 26-6, The Texans 31-21. At least they scored 31 points there. Their best win is that Bengals win, 41-16.
Right. Well, the two you had Chicago and Texas that you just said, Kenny, were very early in the season, weeks 2 and 3.
That was first start for Fields too with Chicago.
Yeah,
so you got think about that now. A couple of your wins, you've had first-time starting quarterbacks that you went up against defensively, which helped your defense. Again, I want to believe that the defense made strides today, Michael, but they played the Lions with Ted Boyle or Tommy Boyle, whatever the hell his name is, at quarterback. So I can't believe that, you know what, because that defense did what it did today against the Lions, that's going to transfer to the Crab Shack in Baltimore next Sunday night on national TV. I don't know that. I have no idea what to expect defensively or offensively next week for the Browns on the road at Baltimore.
How could you? We sit here tonight after, like I witnessed live and in living color, Kenny. And listen, I'm going to tell you what, too. There were some moments defensively that, we're T.J. Hawkinson running free in the Browns secondary, catching 17, 22, 24-yard throws with no Browns defender covering him. So non-coverage that even, as you said, Teddy, Tom, Tim, Terry Boyle was able to hit him.
Right.
So listen, there's a lot of things that got to get absolutely cleaned up to give them a chance to win next week in Charm City, Baltimore.
All right, let's do this, Reg. Let's get a break in here on the R&R podcast. We'll come back. Some of the numbers and things from today's thrilling 13-10 win over the Lions, and look ahead to that matchup on Sunday night, a week from about right now, as we're taping this at about 8:20 on Sunday night. The Browns will be playing this time next week. So we'll get into all that when we come back here on the R&R podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey, it's Tito, host of the Premier Fantasy Podcast. Get all the news and analysis you need to dominate your fantasy league. I've been doing this as long as anybody in the business. I can help give you the edge in your leagues. It's the Premier Fantasy Podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us and then listen in.
Hey, I'm Jason.
And I'm Gary. And if you've ever wondered where you can turn $50 into $5,000 legally outside of Las Vegas, then the sports card market, which is completely insane right now, might be for you.
Join us for the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast for the sports collector.
And welcome back to the R&R podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network, powered by MGM Northfieldpark. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfieldpark. Go have some fun. Go check out the Trotters. Win some money. Be a hell of a lot more exciting than the Browns-Lions game was today. That's for damn sure. 13-10 was the final of that disaster. Michael, some numbers, a deep dive into the numbers, if you will. Browns, 2 turnovers on offense, a missed field goal on offense, a missed extra point on offense, 10 penalties for 78 yards by the team, gave up a 57-yard TD run, and found a way somehow, some way to win the game 13-10. But as you and I have pointed out, the only reason they won the game is because they played the team in the NFL that doesn't have any wins. And so anybody else, maybe Jacksonville will throw them in there depending on the day in Houston. But for the most part, anybody else, Browns lose that game today. But luckily for them, it was the woeful Detroit Lions. And so they are at 6-5, 11 games into it, Michael, which means 6 games left. Realistically, looking at this team for me, 3-3 is what I'm looking at that schedule. And if that's the case, 9-8, I don't think get you in the playoffs. They got to get to at least double digits to have a shot at a wild card. And like I said, I think 11 wins you the division if you can get to 11. But in order for that to happen, let's see, they're 6-5. And how many games do we say they have left?
They have to win 5 or 6.
Yeah, they got to go 5-1 down the stretch. And I can't see that happening with this offense, the injured quarterback, the lack of wide receivers, and a questionable defense.
Yeah, all of that doesn't make it a real pretty picture, does it? And this is why we're going to find out. I think the one thing that's going to help us find out is about especially Kevin Stefanski, Alex Van Pelt, and Joe Woods. Well, I hesitate, Kenny, because Stefanski calls the plays.
Right.
He calls the plays. So, I'm not saying, how much communication is there with, is Van Pelt making suggestions to him on the headset about personnel packages and what have you? But I mean, again, Nick Chubb won the football game today. I mean, as Kenny said a little bit earlier, hell, he needed to carry the foot. 22 totes for 130 yards, average just a touch under 6 yards a carry, right? Yep. And came out of the backfield to catch the off play action, a touchdown pass from Baker Mayfield. But, so he comes back and he carries the football team today, period.
Yes, he did.
So, I mean, again, listen, you got to find a way to get Mayfield back to whatever it's going to take him to be able to, if you're going to keep playing him, Kevin Stefanski, well, then you know what? It's incumbent on you because you're calling the plays. You got to get this thing dialed up, whatever it's going to take, because you're going to need a hell of a lot more than just Nick Chubb. If you think Nick Chubb is going to, continue to win football games virtually by himself, that ain't happening. It's not going to happen.
All right, let's give a little bit of love, though, to some guys who deserve it for their performance today. Jarvis Landry played hurt, Michael, and they put him in a Wildcat, and he was supposed to throw the ball, but that didn't work, and was able to scramble for 16 yards and get in the end zone. So kudos to Juice for getting in the end zone, playing hurt. He left the game, came back in the game, even though his knee was injured again. So he wanted to finish it. So Juice Landry gave you a touchdown. We mentioned Nick Chubb deserves the game ball of all game balls for his performance today, catching that wobbly pass that barely made it to him from Baker Mayfield for the 5-yard touchdown pass. He deserves Denzel Ward's pick. Got to give Denzel some credit, Michael. That was a nice interception as they bracketed the receiver and he came down with the INT, and he's shown you he is one of the best cover corners on the football field. And Malcolm Smith had an interception in that first half after Baker's first interception. Mm-hmm. So those were the guys that I looked at today, and I said, all right, they did win. They'll give out some game balls. Those are the guys I wanted to give a little love to because they were overshadowed by just a poor all-around game elsewhere, but wanted to make sure they got a little pat on the back for their efforts today.
Yeah, and Kenny, there's a man that I thought was going to have a far greater impact on the Browns as he came over off a couple of real strong years from the LA Rams. John Johnson III. Today, Kenny, on that DeAndre Swift long touchdown run for Detroit, John Johnson III, got caught off one of the worst angles I've ever seen a safety make trying to come up and support the run game. And DeAndre Swift just absolutely left him in the lurch. And Grant Delpit the same. Delpit was I don't understand why. Has the game changed that much? Kenny, if you're safety and you're going to try to be up around, get up around the line of scrimmage and stop the run game, man, you can't whiff like that. I'm sorry, you can't. You can't take bad angles. You can't be out of position. And then when you got a chance, you can't whiff, man, because that's why Swift, that long touchdown run looks so simple. And Grant Delpit both took awful angles, awful approaches, and then whiffed on tackles.
Ole was what they did there, Michael.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, you hate to, like you said, Juice Landry, Jarvis, one of my favorite guys on this football team. You know that. Really liked him when the Browns got him. And, the guy busts his butt and plays. And he plays hurt if he has to. And, he was 4 catches today. And as you said, had the on that reverse, looked like he was going to throw, pulled it down, and then ran it for a touchdown. And think about that, Kenny. So the Browns scored 2 touchdowns today, missed an extra point. That's always, great when you're playing a poor team like the Detroit Lions, where something like that can make the difference. But, and again, and while so you got to resort to that, right? A reverse to Jarvis Landry that turns in. It looked like he was, I don't know if it was absolutely scripted that he throws or that was just the deception angle of it. But so that's one of your 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right today. I think about, Kenny, do the Browns ever throw the football, when they're in the red zone into the end zone to a receiver? You ever have routes that wind up back in the end zone where the ball is thrown for the receiver to make the catch in the end zone? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm today, man, being there, that was really eye-opening to how this thing's going to have to get straightened around if they want to do anything that relates to winning.
Reg, for our listeners out there, since you were in the crowd, okay, what was the place like when the game started? What was the fan reaction during the game all the way through until the end?
I think everybody was there, Kenny, to felt like, okay, this is the prevailing feeling to me was, this is a day that maybe the Browns can use this against this very poor football team to get well, to get healthy.
Right.
And come out and put together, I was thinking, Kenny, honestly, something like, not that I thought the Browns were going to do some 40-piece or no. But I thought maybe something like a 24-7, 24-10, 27-10.
Right.
Where maybe you 3 touchdown drives, something like that, a couple of field goals. Yeah, something in that mid to upper 20s. Well, please.
13.
They were nowhere near that. And that's why I say that was the mood. And then, though, Ken, as we, you've been to enough research. And then as the game wears on, and this isn't happening, and it becomes obvious when DeAndre Swift, like I said, made the Browns 2 safeties twirl around like ballerinas and whiff on his long touchdown run. Yeah. Now, Ken, you could feel the
It was a reaction at jerseys as well, Reg. When
is this going to happen?
Yep.
They're in a tight football game with still 17, 18 minutes to play against a team that hasn't won this year.
With Timmy Toad Boyle as your quarterback, too.
Yeah. And you knew that, this way, all of a sudden now the Browns aren't going to go on 2 touchdown drives, sustained drives to blow this open. You knew when Swift took it to the house, here we go. Yeah. Here we go. This is going to be tight to the very end now. And the win thing is going to be in the balance until the very end of the game, which exactly what it was. And there was a big disappointment there. And, of course, then with every missed throw and every failed possession and every punt team coming on the field, Kenny, the grumbling started more and more and more.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see what transpires this week with that offense, the quarterback position, how Stefanski handles that. Baker not speaking to the media after the game today. Reg, when they were up 13-0, I really thought, okay, even though they missed the extra point, I'm like, all right, you know what? It's 13-0. I expect them maybe a couple of more field goals. Detroit might score once. I figured, once the game started, it'd be like 20-7 or 19-7. I had it 27-10 before the game started, but I wasn't anywhere close to that, obviously, with the offense. But it's 13-0. I'm thinking, okay, great. Halftime, good. They'll come out. They'll put some points on the board. This thing will be over. Detroit may not even score with Timmy Toad, Timmy, whatever the hell his Boyle's name was and everything like that. And it just didn't transpire that way. They let them back in the game. And what have we seen all season long with this team, whether they're playing good or bad? they allow teams to hang around, and in the second half, they can't close. They can't finish. They didn't score in the second half today. They're up 13-0 at the break and didn't score a single point in the second half today.
Got outscored in the second half. 10-0 had to hang on, right?
Whew, man.
Again, against, at least by the record, the worst team in football.
Right.
At home.
Yep.
So, I mean, to me, there's some things that well, it seems like we've said this is a very important week now, the last 2 or 3 times. But after that performance today, and you can say, well, all National Football League games are usually close. At least it came in a win. Yeah, okay. Okay, fine. Now show me what you're going to do with that.
Right.
The fact that you stunk the joint out and got a win, then that means that you'll figure that out and won't let that happen again. I don't feel real comfortable in that. I know this, if it happens again, a Browns performance like that, you ain't winning.
Right.
Not against these teams you got to play. You ain't winning.
Not on, with what's left on the schedule. You got to play a hell of a lot better than that. All right, let's do this, Reg. Let's get a break in. Our final one of this podcast. We'll come back. We'll give our final thoughts and peek ahead to that matchup on national TV next Sunday night against the Baltimore Ravens. We'll take a look at the AFC North, see where the standings are right now, and where the Browns stack up against the Steelers, Bengals, and Ravens in the AFC North. All that when we return here on the R&R Podcast.
Hey everyone, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. Backed by popular demand, I'm excited to let you know that new episodes of the Hyman Podcast will drop every other Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're going to continue the conversations we started last season and keep having those hard conversations. There is so much in store for you this season, and I'm excited to share it with you. Subscribe today so you don't miss a single moment. The Hyman Podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Northfieldpark is your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement of live harness racing every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday evening with a 6 p.m. post time. Wager and win daily on the top thoroughbred and harness tracks from around the world. Plus, enter to play the free handicapping contest every Sunday for a chance to win cash. Top prize is $500. Registration begins at 11 a.m. Free admission and free parking every day at Northfieldpark.
Hello, this is Don Mike Mendoza, the host of the Producing While Asian podcast. Join us to listen in on conversations with everyone who identify from producers to non-producers who all are part of the AAPI community. There's all that and more on the Producing While Asian podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome back. Final segment of the Reg and Rhoda podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network, brought to you by MGM Northfieldpark. Wager and win daily with action starting around noon. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfieldpark. That would be noon that you can get in there and start your wagering on that. The Browns, they started at 1 o'clock today and looked at halftime like, okay, 13-0. This should be an easy one. And then they did what they've done all season long, inability to close, finish off, hung on in an ugly win, 13-10, Michael. And with the win, they're now 6-5 after 11 games. And in the AFC North, the Ravens found a way to win late again without Lamar Jackson, who sat out with an illness today. So they're 7-3, Baltimore in first place. The Bengals went on the road to Vegas, beat the Raiders. They're 6-4. Browns are 6-5, and the Steelers are playing the Chargers as we tape this. Steelers are 5-3-1. And the Browns next week on the road, Michael, at Baltimore. So final thoughts on today, and then just your thoughts on the AFC North with what's remaining.
Yeah, you got the win, but anybody that thinks that's good enough, and as Kenny just gave the upcoming Browns opponents, it's not good enough. And it's not going to come and be results-wise into the kind of finish here in the last 6 weeks that the Browns are looking for. And they got the bye week there between the two Ravens games. But Kenny, again, just from every aspect of this football team, it's got to get better. It's going to have to get better because right now I can't bring myself to say that I feel good about them making the playoffs. And winning the division, yes, I know mathematically it's out there, sure. But again, I'm talking about how this team is playing, Ken, what they're doing on the field. And right now, it's nowhere near being able to be good enough to make this a reality. And as we said, they're going to have to win. They have to win 4 for sure of these next 6 football games. Yes, I can't see them getting in at 3-3. They have to win 4. If you want any shot to win the division, you're going to have to win 5. Okay. Now, and you could say, well, what's the chances, though, Kenny, that you can win ugly and win 4 or 5 of your final 6 against the teams you're playing? I'm not confident in that happening whatsoever. So now to me, Kevin Stefanski, okay? Important weekend for you, main man.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you can't let this continue to foster offensively. Make the decision if you need to. And if you decide you want to stay with Baker Mayfield and ride with them, okay, fine. But then again, you know what? Maybe it's your job that's going to be in peril and in jeopardy if the end of this 6-game run doesn't go real well.
Michael, what I saw today from Baker Mayfield was regression. And I know that the weather was a factor today. All right. It was windy. It was wet, but it wasn't a downpour, was it? I mean,
no, never. Okay. Not at one point was it. It was just a mist, a drizzle.
All right. So after listening to Stefanski's press conference post-game today, Baker didn't speak, so don't know. Can't give you information from him to help me make my comments here or my opinion on this. If I'm Kevin Stefanski and Baker Mayfield's performance today was affected by his physical well-being or lack thereof, okay, and not the elements, then if I'm Kevin Stefanski, I've got to do what I think is best for the team to win next week at Baltimore with the season on the line in every game almost from here on out. And if that means sitting Baker Mayfield for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is, maybe the rest of the season, who knows? If I feel Case Keenum gives me the best chance to win, if I'm Kevin Stefanski, then I got to make that announcement to Baker first and foremost, and then to the team and say, guys, I will always put you first over any individual on this football team. I want you to know that as the head coach of this team. And Kevin Stefanski needs to grow a pair this week and do that, because I don't think Baker Mayfield gives you the best chance to win right now with all of his injuries and the way he's playing. Michael, 5 of the last 6 games, 17 points was their high point total. In those 5 games, they've averaged 12 points a game in those 5 games that we're talking about, okay? So Baker, ever since he injured the shoulder, hasn't been the same as he was the first couple of games, and it's gotten continually worse. And that's the decision I think Kevin Stefanski needs to make this week if he indeed does feel that the injuries are causing Baker not to play well.
He does. I mean, there's no question about that. And it's absolutely clear that the head football coach has got to be willing to do that for the greater good of this football team.
Yes.
So we're going to find out if that's the case this week, because if this kind of Baker Mayfield, again, goes out there and we have another week like we did this past week of what on Wednesday and Thursday, Mayfield tell him, well, hey, I'm going to go.
Right.
Yeah, well, I don't feel real great, but I'm going to go. No, that's not your call. Again, I admire your want to and your will.
Sure.
I admire that. But, at some point, this head coach, Kevin Stefanski's got to step in and say, what I'm seeing, Baker, don't believe it's good enough to allow us to do the things offensively we're going to need to do to give us a win. All right? So You get healthy. And, then we'll see where things are when you're healthy. He needs to do that, Kevin Stefanski.
Agree 100% with you, Reg. And the other thing Stefanski needs to do, he needs to realize, is who this offense needs to be built around, and he needs to be featured touching the ball minimum 25 times a game, running, catching passes out of the backfield, minimum 25 5 times. If you're trying to make the playoffs, if you're trying to win football games, what gives me the best chance to win? Nick Chubb gives you the best chance to win. So Baker, sit him down, feature Nick Chubb.
Yeah, and Ken, everything's in front of them with 6 games to play. They in essence control their own destiny. If they, sure, they go win 5 of these football games, they're going to be in the playoffs.
Yep,
They might be in the playoffs. They win 4 of these football. I think they will. If they were to win 4 and wind up 10-7, so they control their fate, their destiny. I just don't believe the way that it's trying to be accomplished right now with the individuals you got out there. I just don't see it. It's hard for me to say that is doable. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Is that the prevailing feeling is that just from a physical situation that Baker Mayfield's not going to be healthy for the rest of this football season. It's going to take, whether or not surgery or not, but if nothing else, it's going to take a lot of rest.
Yep. Reg, I've talked to an orthopedic surgeon. Now, he isn't Baker's doctor, okay? Mm-hmm. But he's an orthopedic surgeon who's done surgeries on shoulders like that. He said he needs surgery, and it's going to affect him as a football player because it just does, even though it's your non-throwing shoulder. And then you add in the foot injury, 2 knee injuries, whatever else, a hip injury, whatever he's got. I mean, come on, Kevin Stefanski, if you didn't see today that Baker Mayfield needs to be shut down, then yeah, Michael, I'm with you. Then I got some problems with last year's NFL Coach of the Year and wondering what he's smoking, because I think it was painfully obvious to everyone out there today that Baker is being affected by the injuries, and he doesn't give them, in my opinion, the best chance to win football games. So a big week for Kevin Stefanski, Michael, and an even bigger game on national TV next Sunday night against the Baltimore Ravens.
No, unquestionably. I think this one's going to go a long way to determine what does happen in these next 6 football games, Ken. They find a way to win this football game. They give themselves just but a little bit of breathing room. Right. But you lose this football game, you're back to 6-6, back to 500, and then you gotta wait 2 weeks before you play again, right? And it's against the Baltimore Ravens again. So, look, it is a must. They win one of these next 2 against Baltimore.
Yes, and Michael, here's my thinking on this, right? Sit Baker this week plus the bye week, and then reevaluate against the Ravens, who will be coming off a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers while you're on the bye week. So give Baker 2 full weeks, Michael. Mm-hmm. Give him the 2 full weeks to see what he can do, or what the staff can do to try and get him better. He's not going to be 100%. We know that, but as high of a percentage of him as you can get him to, and then make the decision going into that second Baltimore game, whether or not you stay with Keenum or you bring Baker back. That's what I would do.
It makes all the sense in the world. And it's probably the way to go. Now, again, the head football coach. Come on, man.
Yep.
This not only the organization, I think this whole city, this football crazed city, is kind of expecting you to step up here, Kevin Stefanski. Because don't try to tell me this is all just 100% on the players. Again, Are you doing everything you can to put this football team in the best possible position to win? And Kenny, at the very best, the answer to that question right now in regards to Kevin Stefanski is questionable. Very questionable if your decision-making is putting this team in the best position to win.
Couldn't agree with you more, Reg. We'll see how this thing plays out this week with Kevin Stefanski and the Browns. And then sometime midweek 2 coming up, Reg, we got to preview that monster of a game in Ann Arbor Saturday at noon. The Buckeyes, who are going to be 2 or 3 probably come Tuesday night, and the Wolverines 4 or 5, I think, depending on how the committee votes. We'll see. That's going to be a hell of a matchup in Ann Arbor. It actually is a game with meaning for both sides because the Buckeyes have won 17 of the last 19 meetings head-to-head with Michigan. So this is an opportunity for Harbaugh to get his first victory over the Buckeyes, and it would be ginormous if he could do that. The Buckeyes are hoping to keep him winless and continue on the roll they've been on as of late with their Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback in C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, winner probably Saturday will be in the college football playoffs. Yeah. No, I know. You can't. The winner Saturday then can't go out and lay an egg against Wisconsin in the battle, which I think it's going to be in the Big Ten championship game. I get that. I still think Saturday's winner is going to be in pretty prime position to be in the college football playoff.
And we'll get into that later in the week, so look for that podcast coming up later in the week. But great job on this one, Reg. We'll see what Kevin Stefanski does with the Browns. And, of course, whenever they play, we'll break it down after their next game. So whatever happens between the Browns and Ravens, we'll have that for you next week, and we'll go from there. All right, bud?
Always a lot of fun, Kenny. Can't wait for it.
Sounds good. Thanks to everybody out there for listening to the R&R podcast. We really appreciate it. Thanks to our sponsor, MGM Northfieldpark, for jumping on board with us. That means a lot to Michael and I. And thanks to our producer extraordinaire, Dave Emmert, who does a fabulous job of putting this all together for you to listen out there wherever you get your podcast. Everybody have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon here on the R&R podcast.